Hello everyone, Karen Glasser here, and welcome to this episode of The Passion Point. This is the show where we follow passionistas all around the world and sometimes locally as well, who are following their passion, making a living, doing what they love. And today I am really excited about our guest because, well, he's younger than me. Well, then again, mostly everyone is younger than me, but he has accomplished so much in such a short amount of time. I can only imagine where he's going. His name is Daniel Witzel, and he is a marketing maven, an implementation expert, and a personal business coach to the now generation. See, that's the young people, I think, right?
Yes, yes.
Mastering technology at a young age. Daniel started in the internet marketing industry at the age of 15. 15?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, 15, by working with a nonprofit and implementing automation systems to help streamline their basic marketing processes. Today, he is the CEO of Mortar Marketing. It's a full-service marketing and consultation firm, and that's actually how I met you, Daniel. So welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I just have to start off by saying this guy knows what he's doing. You know, I joke about the fact that you're young, maybe just as you're young, but truly I have met my match and then some with this young man. And so we're just going to go ahead and start right off the bat and talk a little bit about your story. Tell me how you started. We don't have to go so far back right now because you're already,
Sure.
there. Tell me a little bit about your story.
Yeah, well, I went to a high-tech high school, actually, and that was kind of where, I was always really good with computers. I remember a day when I was 8, I actually went to work with my father, and he let me play with Excel, and that was the most exciting thing that I did all day, even though there were games and things that I was allowed to do. I was sick one day, so he let me do that. But all I wanted to do was play with Excel at like the age of 8. So I was always kind of a techie automation, computer nerd, if you will. And then, like I said, I ended up going to a high-tech high school and just learning a lot about, I learned Photoshop there, Final Cut, video editing, web design, things like that. Just did a lot of different things there. And like I said, that was all between the ages of 14 and 18. And actually, while I was there, we had an internship program. And I had interned with actually kind of 2 companies at the same time. I was with an architecture firm, and I did a lot of marketing stuff for them. But I also went and did a nonprofit internship, and that was actually where I got introduced to Infusionsoft, which is a big marketing automation tool. And it just it grew on me. And then through meeting my girlfriend, actually, kind of through a friend of her dad's, I was able to go and get certified in Infusionsoft, and I started picking up my own clients, and it kind of just grew from there. So.
That's awesome. I mean, for those of you who are listening and watching the show right now, and if you are at all involved in internet marketing, you may have heard the word Infusionsoft, and some people call it, right?
Confusionsoft, yeah.
and really what we're talking about here is automation and a way to communicate with the market that's out there. And what I like about you, Daniel, is that you are constantly learning. And you are constantly trying new things. In fact, sometimes you and I totally geek out. By the way, my web guy, he is my absolute awesome web guy. And we geek out sometimes, maybe a lot of times when you will say, oh, I just found this new program. Have you seen this? And vice versa.
Right.
So tell me a little bit how you help your clients today. What do you do today?
Well, like you had kind of said in my intro there, I am the CEO of Mortar Marketing. And so that's the company that I started, from the ground up. And I really work with clients in all different fields. It started out working with marketing automation and things like that. But now I work with a lot of startups and people who are, solopreneurs, individual entrepreneurs trying to start their own business on a cheap to free budget, as I call it, just trying to put, 2 sticks together and make something work. And so, I work with a lot of clients of all different sizes. I've really kind of expanded though past the marketing automation. I can do business coaching now. We have an entire development team. Kind of you name it. It truly is like full service marketing. But my personal skill set and the background that I have really enables me to help clients with their marketing consulting, sales consulting, and also, just building a business and putting a business together.
And the sales funnel, right?
Yeah, and sales and marketing funnel.
So
Yeah.
why don't we talk a little bit about that? Because if you are in business online, which a lot of people are these days, because it just is. If you don't have a sales funnel or a marketing funnel, and you are relying on the internet to bring you work, you need a sales funnel and a marketing funnel. Tell us what that is. What is a sales funnel?
Well, a sales or marketing funnel, they're kind of the same thing, but it's essentially just walking people through the process of, once they come to your website and the funnel starts with a visitor. And once they're on your website, what are you showing them? How are you capturing that lead? What are you telling them about yourself? How are you communicating, to that person? And ultimately, the sales process starts before you even know the person's name. The visitor is where the sales process starts. So, and this isn't just something that's in online marketing. This is something that is in offline marketing, a shoe store, for example, or something like that. You have people walk in the door, you don't know who they are yet, but they're looking around. And so it's like, how are you presenting your business and yourself either online or in person and showing them who you are? And just, it's called, conversion funnel. So you're converting people down, and that conversion is actually, from a visitor to a lead to a customer. And then, taking them from that customer and really wowing them with your service and your products, and turning them into lifelong partners of yours. So.
And I saw as you used your hands to actually diagram it,
right,
it looks like a funnel.
Right. I wish I had the graphic. Yeah.
Right?
But
they come into the top, and I know you have a program out there called Cash Flow Code, and this is actually goes through the whole funnel. It shows you how to do it,
right,
the mentality behind it, the mindset behind it, and how do you actually do it. And this is, if you're out there listening and wanting to know, how am I going to do this? Is this really, really hard? I don't think it's so much that it's really, really hard. There's a lot of moving pieces. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I was going to say, it's something that people are already doing, whether or not you realize it. I think once people kind of have that they gain the knowledge on the existence of a marketing funnel, then, it clicks in their mind, this is what I'm doing already, and it just helps you kind of get organized on, like I said, what are you showing them? How are you selling them? Plus, the big thing about a marketing funnel is that you may already be doing it, but by learning more about it, you can diagnose what is wrong in your business or the speed bumps that people are hitting, so that way you can actually, improve those. Whether it's, okay, I'm not capturing leads off my website, or I have people's names, but I'm not giving them a chance to buy soon enough, or something like that. Once you kind of know about that marketing funnel and you look at, your process, your sales process, you can see those gaps in there and really fill those in.
Absolutely. And it's a process. It's absolutely a process. So, you started at a very young age, and I think more and more we're seeing young people jump into the technology industry. What would you recommend to a young person that maybe is in high school or out of high school and trying to decide what they want to be when they grow up? Is this a good field to go into?
Well, yeah, I think it's a great field to go into. You talked about my course, Cash Flow Code. I'm also, I'm very passionate about kind of the millennial generation, and because I obviously am one of them, but, the millennial generation, and kind of breaking the stigma that, you have to stay at home till you're 30 and that sort of thing. Like, it's not something that's necessary. I moved out when I was 19, moved out on my own, got my own apartment and things like that. I know that that's kind of an unusual thing for my generation, but I think the internet marketing field and the internet in general, whether I guess if you're selling anything online, you are marketing. But, the internet really enables people of all ages, not just our generation, to, put themselves out there, put themselves in front of people that they would not have even met. We live in a global economy now, and it's just an amazing, age to live in. And so, I would definitely recommend this field to people my age, like you said, people in high school who are kind of looking for their next path. And, one of the biggest things that kind of, gets touched on in my story is that, I didn't go to college. I didn't get a college degree. And that was a personal choice that I made because of the connections that I was able to make. And, that's a really, if I were to say work on one thing in high school, I would say networking. You really need to know how to talk to people, how to, not work the room, as they say, but just be able to, talk to people, make introductions, come across professionally, and introduce a service to them, whether or not it's real, kind of a fake it till you make it type of thing.
Exactly. And not to miss opportunities, because you never know when you're somewhere that could help you take that next step.
Right.
Maybe there's an opening, you can help somebody. What do you think about our social media platforms today? Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah, I would say Instagram is probably my favorite, and it's probably, as we've talked about before, the most underutilized for a lot of businesses. I know it's kind of up and coming. Facebook acquired it fairly recently, I think within a year or so. So it is definitely more up and coming for the businesses side, but that's where a lot of young people are. That's where you can touch them. And I just love photography and video as a media too. And, even when posting on Facebook, 90% of the time I'm doing a media post of photo or video. So
absolutely. So let's talk about the whole idea of putting that digital content out there, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, and digital content takes many forms, as we know, or maybe we don't know. A digital content could be a video, but a digital asset also is a graphic, a meme. Do you have a favorite graphic program that you use?
Well, you and I, like I said, you and I both talk a lot about Canva. I really like Canva a lot. Me personally, with the training that I have, I work a lot in Photoshop, and they have a light version that's Elements that is easy for people to pick up. But 90% of the time, if you're not a graphic designer, Canva is going to be more than enough for what you need. There's also another one called Aviary that I work with quite a bit, and I think Google acquired them, so they're kind of backed by some good people. But Canva's really great because it has those templates for those memes. That's kind of the nice thing about it.
Yeah, it's really great. And actually, I just did a review for, I don't know if it's a competing company. It's like a slimmed down light version of Canva. It's called PhotoJet. It's very, very similar. It even sort of looks like Canva. When you open it up, you go, wait a second, I thought I just logged into PhotoJet. But it's a very similar platform. So there are a lot of things out there that make it easy for us to actually play in the social media platforms. And one of the things to be aware of, as you know, obviously, is that each platform has the different dimensions and different qualifications in order to put those graphics or memes or whatever. It's a great way to get more visibility. What's another way that you would suggest for either new businesses or businesses that are already there, but they're looking now to jump into the online world? What other platforms or what other tools would you suggest they start using?
Well, the one that gets I think kind of passed by a lot of people who aren't familiar with internet marketing is blogging, honestly. Creating dynamic written content online, and putting that out there, that does huge things for your website. And ultimately, they kind of say that when you're marketing on social media and Facebook and Twitter and things like that, it's a form of like interruption marketing. You're hitting people when they're not necessarily looking for your business, but they might click on your link or they might click on your video or your photo or whatnot. But, whereas with Google, people are specifically searching for what you are offering out there. So, like in my case, if I'm putting out there that I do web design or something like that, the people who are going to find me on Google are looking for a web designer, or they're looking for information on web design or whatever, whereas they're not looking at, their friend's birthday pictures and then they find my web design ad in the middle of it. So, it can be a lot more of a pointed audience, and kind of going back to that conversion, converting the people once they get onto your website, you have kind of a higher chance of converting somebody if they're coming off of a pointed, something that was actually targeted for them, versus, kind of the social media interruption aspect of it.
That's such a good point. Have you ever noticed that when you go into Google and you start typing what you're looking for, Google drops down an entire menu of things that they think maybe you might be interested in? And where is that coming from? It's actually coming from actual searches, and and those are called keywords. Those are the things that when you are blogging, and obviously that is my world, is all about blogging. That's what keywords are all about, and that's the importance of having a title that has the keyword. It's one thing to write a great blog. It's another thing to make it get noticed. Right.
Yeah. And like you were just kind of saying, writing, sometimes you kind of do it the reverse way. Like whereas with my content, I might already have a post on my website about web design or something like that. you might need to kind of look up keywords in your field and write a blog post specifically to that keyword to get those people in the door. And then I guess one thing that I kind of didn't mention too is the SEO part of it, the search engine optimization, SEO. Part of it is where you're putting out there the content that Google is looking for, so that way when somebody searches web design, that keyword will bring up your blog post. And so that's kind of a specific tactic that you need to do as well.
Absolutely. And then the other thing is hashtags. So
right.
What is the difference in your opinion between a hashtag and the value of a hashtag and a keyword?
Well, on Twitter and Facebook, I guess almost all the networks support them, like LinkedIn does as well.
Instagram does as well.
Yeah, Instagram and Google Plus. The hashtags are very similar to the keywords, but what they do, I guess what they kind of do differently is that they kind of group the posts in together, so that way, it makes like a unique tag, if you will, like a search identifier. That's a little bit different than the keywording, whereas the keywording is actually like what search engines and things like that are looking for. The hashtags are kind of a searching mechanism for people. That's at least how I kind of look at it.
I think I would agree. I would agree with you. When you put a hashtag into Facebook search, or when you put a hashtag into Instagram or Twitter, it brings up actual posts,
right,
and actual items that have used those hashtags, which is very, very valuable if you are trying to niche a particular area. Keywords, it's there regardless of what you did as a hashtag. It's there, it's searchable, and hopefully you'll end up somewhere around the first page on Google.
Right.
That's what we all strive for, is to be on the first page.
Yeah.
And I'm all about the video. What is your opinion about video? I've always been told that video shows up first in search engines.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. People don't ever consider the fact that YouTube is owned by Google as well. So when somebody searches for something on Google, 9 times out of 10, you'll probably have a video pop up, and they show you 2 or 3 videos in the top of your Google search. And the other thing about video and YouTube specifically for video is that in terms of that search engine showing up there, it's the fastest way to get content onto Google. So a blog post on your own website will take between 1 and 2 weeks, ish, to show up there. I know I just did one a week ago. It just now popped up, but it's still on page 4 of Google, so it's kind of moving up the ranks as the weeks go on. But with video, though, I've had one ranking in like 2 to 3 days. So it's a lot faster. And I assume that's because it's owned by Google. They scan it faster. They want the content out there. And
you can search, and you can also search in YouTube as well. So you have 2 different areas where you're searching.
Yeah.
I think Google is the #1 search engine, and YouTube is the #2. And guess what the number 3 is? Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
Well, after you've been searching on YouTube and find cool things to buy, you go over to Amazon.
Right. Yeah, actually buy them, yeah.
And, and while we're on the video and the YouTube just for a minute, one of the things that my pet peeve with a lot of people is when they put these videos up, they miss the valuable real estate that's sitting right there in the descriptions, right? Because you can keyword those as well, right?
Right, yeah, and that's what I was going to say too. You keep thinking of the same thing I was just about to say. Was when you put those out there, it's not like you do one thing and you just kind of leave it there and like do the video and just leave it up there, and that's it's just the video by itself. Like all these things kind of interconnect. So you might have a video with a blog post, and that video and blog post can rank separately. And then you might have a giveaway that comes off of both of those, and you'll have a link to that in the comments or in the detail, the description of YouTube, of your video, and then you'll also give that away on the blog. Things like that. Like everything is interconnected, so you don't want to just put the video up there and leave it alone. The ultimate goal is to get them back to your website and to
take action.
To take action. Yeah, the call to action. You want them to come back to your website and book a consultation, or use a promo code and buy a product, or whatever, give you their email information so that way you can follow up with them, that sort of thing.
So our viewers, I'm sure, are already feeling like they have a fire hose all over them. I mean, because we're geeking out right now.
Yes.
And this doesn't have to be as overwhelming as it may sound in the moment. This is not a matter of, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, Daniel, that somebody should jump in and do everything.
Right.
It's not about doing everything. It's picking what will work for your product and or service. And sometimes it's one or two things. Sometimes it may be 5 or 6 things. Sometimes it might just be one thing that right now, and it's okay just to do one thing first. So if somebody came to you and said, okay, I have a 9-to-5 job. I do want to eventually start my own business. I don't have a lot of extra time, but I have this business idea and I want to do it on my free time. What would you suggest would be the one thing that they should start doing right now while they're still, doing their jump out of bed job?
Well, I think in a case like that, and I actually have quite a few clients who are kind of in that situation. And in specific cases like that, I wouldn't underestimate the audience that you already have. So, that means leveraging your social media, things you have out there. Any emails that you have, it's like, it's kind of going back to that affiliate marketing kind of mindset, but no, you're not spamming the crap out of people. You just want to, introduce the people that to this idea that you have and get them on as customers. And then, they'll share it with people or they'll show it up to their audience, that sort of thing. So, I really think not underestimating the audience that you already have in place. You don't need to go spend money on ads. You don't need to go get a bunch of likes on a Facebook page. I had somebody do that, actually, spend $10 a day to get likes on a Facebook page. And I was like, you can't do anything with those. Like, go focus that money on a website or something instead. So it's definitely focus on that. And then also get some sort of online presence. I know that's 2 things, but get some sort of online presence up. And that doesn't need to be a full-on website. If you've ever heard of something like a landing page or something along those lines, just, it's just a single page that has information about what you're offering, has your, contact information on there at a minimum, a way for you to get their information. So that way you can follow up with them even manually at first, that's a really good starting place. Just get an online presence so that way you can, bring that to people and show it to them on social media and, eventually post blogs there and, things like that.
Very true. And if finances and that normally is an issue, finances are an issue. If you're already at a 9-to-5 and now you want to do something, there are free platforms out there. I'm not going to suggest that you take the free platforms and that's where you live forever.
Right.
Again, you want to own your stuff, not be a subdomain, meaning a subdivision of something else. There's Weebly and there's Wix and
right.
There's Blogger. There's lots of different things that you can use. But again, use them with caution, not
right.
because they're a bad platform, but because you don't own your stuff.
Right.
It means that if they go out of business,
yeah.
so do you. So do you. Right? Would you agree?
Yeah, or ultimately you have to transfer. Yeah. And I was going to say, out of those 2, out of the easy website builder world, I would definitely recommend like Weebly or Squarespace out of those. Those are like the 2 top ones. Wix is not mobile friendly and everything's moving towards mobile. So don't do that.
Good point. And
when I heard you say that, I was like, no.
No Wix for you guys. So mobile friendly means that whatever people see on their computer, they will see adjusted. It's
right.
responsive on either their iPads or their mobile devices. And that's really important because
right.
Google, and again, this is geek words, is not indexing sites that are not mobile responsive. So if you go all that effort and create something that cannot be used on a mobile site, and that means that you don't have to pinch it in or try to figure out how to see the whole screen. That means that site is not mobile optimized. You just learned something today, guys. You can be really smart, right?
Yeah, well, and Wix actually won't even show up on mobile for reasons I don't need to bring up here, but that's all right. Yeah.
And I want to bring one more thing up with you because you are now just starting something new, and that is podcast and web TV production.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, well, it's actually content production in general, so it can be also for like membership courses and whatnot. But essentially, I've seen a lot with multiple clients of ours and yours as well. That the actual creation of the video content can be a challenge for people to kind of that hurdle to get over in order for them to start a podcast or a web TV or put together their membership course with videos and things. So what we do now is that we will actually get on a virtual meeting with you and we'll facilitate the recording of the video content, of whether it's for your podcast or TV show. The content doesn't really matter. It's just that we'll record it for you and actually put that together. And then off that recording, we can edit it up. We can cut it into pieces. We just did an 8-part membership course for a client of ours, and it came out really well. Put intros and outros on the beginning and end, and so it's just it comes out really nicely. But like I said, it's really if you don't feel comfortable, filming yourself or facilitating the recording or editing, or which a lot of people don't. That's totally fine. We can jump on and facilitate that part for you, so you can just come on and do what you do best, either, interviewing or showing content that and, teaching or whatever.
It's a great service, and for those of you who are interested in that, as well as all the rest of the information, it'll be right below here, and click on the link. Daniel, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, and I do know how busy you are, actually.
With your stuff, too.
Taking time out of your busy day to spend time with us. Any last words you want to mention?
I think that, through being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of learning lessons. And, one of the biggest things that I learn every day through the things that I do is just, people are constantly developing, constantly changing, and technology is definitely constantly changing. But don't be, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't get overwhelmed by that. It's very easy to get kind of overwhelmed in this world of, like I said, ever-changing technology. But there are definitely resources to help, and they don't need to cost a whole lot. There's a lot of helpful resources like we kind of talked about on YouTube and Google and things like that. And then also, through sites like what you have, Karen, and Creating Digital Authority and whatnot. There's definitely ways to learn more about what's going on online. And, if you don't want to learn, I don't think you can be an entrepreneur. So
I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
An entrepreneur does not mean that you're going to be working less. It means you're going to be working more.
Right.
That is just what it's all about. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. And thank you to our viewers. I know that you have a choice as to how you spend your time. And I want to thank you for spending time with us today, because you are valuable and we appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of The Passion Point. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, Karen.